All right, so we have a very basic, like I've only set up a few cubes for your assignment. You would set up a bunch more, but I don't want to make you watch me do all of that. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to set up our fluids to have maybe the room flood or something. If you're going to be testing this through rendering constantly, if I hit F12 right now, you'll notice we have this weird grayness going on. And the reason for that is we have to make sure that we select our domain and we apply a material to this. So we're going to assign a new material, and then instead of principled, we're going to remove that. And then we're going to add a principled volume. And we want to make sure that, let's go in the shader graph, that it's set to, or shader editor rather, that the volume is set to volume and not surface. And now when we render that, let's see, oops, not animation, but render image, you should be able to see your image. So just double check that right off the bat. And now you can go in and position your camera however you see fit for your shot, like if you like this or zoomed out shot or whatever. It's kind of cool too is if you have actors, you can green screen them in there. But let's see how this looks. I'm gonna hit F12 on my keyboard, and that looks good enough for me. It's gonna get the point across. Something else I want to do, so I'm gonna uncheck this so I don't mess with my camera, is I'm going to maybe hit Shift A, and I'm gonna go to light here, and I'd like to add another sun, and I'm going to just hit R and then maybe X, and then just kind of rotate that in and play with a little bit of the strength. I'm under this light thing here, kind of brighten up that room a little bit. I want to leave shadows on so I get some nice shadows. And if I hit F12, it should just render out of that same camera. So I think that looks a little bit nicer. Looks pretty realistic. Don't worry too much about these cubes. Remember, we put them all underneath this VFX section here. So if I uncheck this, we can turn off visibility and rendering. It looks like our light is underneath here, and I don't want the light to be under there. So I'm going to grab my sun and just drop it in that top collection. You have to be careful when you're making things. But if I uncheck this camera here and I hit F12, you can see it doesn't render those out. So we're just getting a nice room here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit Control S to save this, and I'm going to start on doing some fluid effects. All right, so let's kind of pick where we'd like our fluid to come out of. So I'm thinking maybe, let's see, I'm going to hit the period key on my keyboard to zoom in on that. This is on the number pad, and it zoomed in there. I'm thinking maybe I'll put a, and I'm going to make sure I'm in view effects here, is I'm going to hit Shift A, and I'm going to create a cube. And I think I want to just place that cube, which happened down there, like the water's coming out of this fireplace back here. I think that would be kind of neat. Hit this, hit this. Let's scale that in a little bit. Again, remember, this is not going to render, but the fluid will. So I'm going to hit R to rotate, and then Z. Rotate that a little bit. I'm going to hit period to kind of lock onto that. Period on my numpad. If you don't have a numpad on your laptop or your keyboard, what you can do to use to zoom in is, I think it's under view, and then you can put frame selected where it says numpad dot. And I'm going to actually name this as water object. And then I want to select under effectors here, fluid, and then under none here, I'm going to select flow. And what that is going to do, and let's make sure we switch this to our timeline so that we can, scrub through this as it goes. As you can see, it added a little bit of a fluid object. It's set to smoke right here. And I'm thinking for this first one, maybe I want to do water. Actually, I'm thinking, well, let's just go ahead and see how this goes. I was thinking maybe it'd be better with a sphere because the sphere gives off more of a water flow, where this would be, let's see how it goes. So anyway, here's our I don't want to do with smoke here. I want to check liquid here. And with liquid, I think we can do, let's see what else we have. We want to make sure that we're doing is planar, because we do have a planar object here. And then we want to select this domain object, which is our this is what's kind of controlling our fluid effect here. And for our domain object, we want to make sure this goes from gas to liquid so that it interacts with liquid. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way back to 0 here. And if we press play here, you can see we get water flowing out of there. Let's kind of zoom in here a little bit. I don't know if you can see those dots. They're kind of small to see. But we have water flowing out of there. Yeah, you can see those little blue dots. All right, I don't want to just see particles here, so I'm going to go down at the bottom here, and I want to turn on mesh, and that should allow me to see the mesh object, not just particles. Let's see. All right, so actually let's adjust this. Go to your water object and change the flow behavior from geometry to, let's see, inflow. All right, so now what I did is I actually went ahead and just kind of baked it all out. But what you can do is if you go here, right now if we do the viewport shading, so anyway, select your domain object essentially, and under type here, you can do replay, you can do modular, which essentially just kind of plays the object in the scene. It's a little buggy. So the best way to test this is set your domain resolution pretty low. I have mine set to 32 because I have a pretty powerful machine, so that's pretty low for me. Yours might be 16. And what you can do is just do a sample of the scene, which is like 100, and go ahead and let's see. Let's set this to all under cache and then hit bake all. And so we have it as 100. And then if we switch back here to our viewport shading, you can see it, the way it's coming out and the way it interacts with our effectors here. So our effectors might need a little bit more geometry because they don't seem to, let's see, we have an effector here, use effector. Oh, we want to make sure these are all marked as planar because they're planar objects or planar boxes. Planar being it's like made up of planes. It's not really that faceted. So I'm going to go back to my domain really quick, and I'm just going to go ahead and free all bake all that stuff up to 100 again. So you can see it goes pretty quick. And now when I scroll through this, yeah, there's just not enough cuts inside that chair, the table there. It seems like it's reacting to this one. But sometimes you just have to set it a little bit higher. But we're at least we're getting the water out of the, like outside of this little fireplace like we wanted. We can also scale this down, and then on our domain object here, we can free all and then bake all. Bake all, there we go. And then on frame 100, see how that looks. I'm just gonna hit F12 to see how it looks from our renderer. Oh, and you know, we never set up the material to see it in our scene. So we'll come back to that. But for now, let's just get our fluid sim working right. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna free all so that it clears up my bake. And I'm gonna go up to the top here, and I'm just going to, just for mine, I'm gonna set it to 64 to see if that resolution will let it interact better with our little cubes here, which surprisingly did not stay planar. So let's see if, let me go back to my domain and bake that again. And I might just pause it in case it takes too long to bake. Yeah, and so you can see here, it's reacting, but it's reacting a little bit too far away, and we can adjust that too. But you see how much space it's registering for the collider here? Like it's giving us just a lot of, it's not sitting right up against it. Is this one marked as planar? No, it's not. Well, we're gonna have to just go back in and check these. But at least you're seeing kind of the flow is starting to work, right? Like the slime is pouring out of the thing. And really this could be, the new Ghostbusters movie's out. Make this 100. This could be like us making our own slime. So maybe I'll make this like a green liquid here. Our domain here, we'll make it like a green liquid instead of, in honor of the new Ghostbusters movie coming out. All right, so forgive me, I'm recording this in my office, and I'm getting a lot of just people coming in. So let's see. So let's make sure that we can, let's see, our domain here, make sure it's selectable, select your domain. So I'm turning that back on, right click and do shade smooth here. And that way we get a little bit nicer of our flow here. And honestly, if you notice, if we want to increase the resolution a little bit on our domain, I can free this up, like clear out my cache and just crank this up to 128 or 96 rather. Like I said, this might be way too powerful for your computer, but you know, I just want to kind of show you the sort of the best results or how things change as you increase the resolution in these other settings. And something else I'm noticing is actually my domain here. So I'm going to hit free all is not sitting right on top of the floor. It's sitting underneath the floor. So that's why I'm getting these weird results where it's not sitting directly on top. So there's a couple ways to do this. I can hit tab and go to edit mode here and just select this bottom face here. And then inside of here, or I can go to wireframe, just hit G and then Z and then move this up so it's sitting just above the floor. Let's kind of go to shade smooth and see. Yeah, so it's just sitting just a little bit above the floor like that. And now, just for the sake of this video, let's just knock it back down to 64. And then I'm going to go ahead and render this so we can see the result. Make sure that it's on all. Oh, let's make sure we're also in object mode. Otherwise you can't bake it. That's baking pretty quick. Then we get, yeah, pretty good result. And it looks like it's on our floor here. So, and if you want it to be longer and more water coming out, just change your fluid sim to longer for y'all, and then just bake that out. All right, so let's go in here and let's essentially adjust our domain color here. So let's go to shader and let's see, shader editor. Yeah, and let's open this up. And instead of principal volume, let me go to my material here. Let's change it to, let's see. Oh, surface none I have here. Let's do principled BDSF. There we go. And now we can actually see the material in our viewport. And if I hit F12 on my camera, it's not there yet. Oh, we have the surface on here. Well, actually, you know what? We do want to see the surface in our scene. All right, and for base color here, I want to go with like a green because we're doing slime. All right, and let me turn up transmission all the way up. And under options here, I'm going to turn both of these to alpha hashed. And then I can turn on screen space refraction and then subsurface here translucency because we're going to try to get that translucent slime look. And then let's go to our render settings here. Look for screen space refractions and turn that on. And then turn on refraction. Refraction is, as you can see, you can look inside and anything that's inside of the slime, like imagine like water inside of like a straw inside of water. It has that bending effect. That's kind of what we want to do here. We want to kind of make this translucent and look kind of like a translucent slimy. And you know, we can play with thickness, things like that here. Now to actually see through the slime, let me kind of get a little closer to a section here. You have to take your IOR down a little bit, and you'll be able to see how we're able to see. Yeah, let's see. I don't want to go too low. Let's make this 1 maybe. Yeah, now you can see through our slime. See how you can see the edges of the table and the fireplace and stuff. Now IOR stands for index of refraction. It's pretty much how the liquid will reflect the light. And then let's adjust our transmission. Actually, that's how transparent it is. So maybe something like this. I want it to look like Slimer from the Ghostbusters, so I'm going to bring the metallic up a little bit to give it some specularity. And if you bring the metallic all the way up, it's almost too reflective. And then if we adjust our roughness, we can kind of flatten out or smooth out that specularity. Okay, and let's go ahead and render this. So I don't want to render these cubes. I just want to render my domain. So if I turn this on, turn this back on, remember we turned off this camera on VFX. You can see we have our slime here, but what I want to do is make sure that really all of these cubes are unchecked. Everything but our domain at this point. We just have our domain, and you could even turn off the water object. And now when I hit F12, you can see we have everything rendered. So let's go ahead and essentially I thought I had some, oh, these chairs are not, it's interesting that it went inside of this. Oh, we didn't mark these as this planar. You know what I'm going to do? One last thing is I'm going to hit, let's see, Alt D, and then just hit G, X, or GY. And I'm just going to move this down here. G and then Y. Shift D. Or actually, I could probably just, let's see, move it here and then hit S and then Y. Scale and then Y, and just scale those up to block out these chairs. And then select my domain and just free up the cache and then just bake it all again. You can see we get the timeline here. All right, let's hit F12 here. And we've got some slime from Ghoster Busters happening here. Going underneath the table because we got those cubes going on. All right, so how do I want this rendered for your homework? Let's go up to our output here. Make sure that it's on FMPEG RAW. Open color management, that looks pretty good. Open encoding. Under encoding here, I want MPEG 4. And then let's go with high quality for your portfolio. Output, I'm just going to throw mine on the desktop. Or actually, you know, I'll throw it in videos where I'm putting the rest of my stuff. And yeah, we get you 24 frames a second from up to 150. And I'm going to go ahead and just click my camera, see how this looks. It looks like it's framed pretty good. Let's hit F12 to see how that looks. Not bad. This table kind of looks weird, the placement of it, but anyway, yours is going to look a lot better because you're going to do a better job with collision and stuff. All right, go up to the top here and then do render animation. And I'm going to go ahead and just pause the video and then we'll watch the animation together once it's done. All right, so this is essentially what you're left with, something like this. Now there is some spacing here. You'll see that from the collision box, we need to fix not only the collision, but also the detection distance. But overall, we're getting some good results here. And then you could see the way it's my plane, my domain, the initial plane spacing of the domain is still too high off the floor. And that's why you can see there's a shadow that's hitting the ground. But it still looks really cool. And let's see if I can click on that so we can, yeah, there we go. So you can see it all. I'll have this video up in the learning portal as well as online. Anyway, that's it.